I am too, but I'm also cautious
Yeah,
because I have no clue what I'm gonna do.
me neither. That's
But
the fun
that's
of it.
yeah. When the show's over, you gotta watch the John Cena segment.
I know I am. Joey said it's on YouTube, so I'm gonna watch it as soon as I'm done here.
I was watching it when when you logged on the call. I watched it live and then I immediately watched it again.
Dude, I started watching Daredevil yesterday too. God, that first episode, man.
The first 5 minutes.
I know. I'm just like, man, I'm not even 5 minutes into the episode and already like there's a death and there's like, oh man, Daredevil kills a guy and then the guy just gets up and walks away. I'm like, what is
I was like,
happening?
what? Like, how does that even happen?
Uh, it was a good show. It was a good first couple episodes though. Then it turned into like a courtroom drama and I was like, this is kind of cool.
I like that they didn't Disneyfy it,
Yeah,
if
I
that
know.
makes any sense. Like it really does feel like a continuation of the Netflix show.
Dude, at the end of the episode I saw, somebody with a certain skull on his shirt
Yeah.
kills another guy at point blank range, and I'm like, this is on Disney? Wow.
Yeah, he's still like nobody's surprised that he would do that
Yeah.
because that's like his MO.
But I'm good to go. I got all my tabs are open and ready to do a show.
Yeah, let me pull up the chat. Yep, I'm all set.
All right. Well, did you check out the YouTube, see if everything's going smoothly?
Yeah, everything sounded good on my end.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. In three, two, one. Greetings, programs, and we're back for another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
So, a pretty good weekend. How was yours?
I slept a lot
Yeah.
because so for those that follow me on social media, my wife and I rebranded our really her baking business into like we're kind of working together and we're both making stuff. We did a pop-up early Friday morning, and we stayed up all night the night before making stuff. So went into it with zero sleep.
Yeah.
And when we got home, I think we got home like 11:15, 11:30ish. Slept for about 3 hours. Then woke up, just kind of hung around the house for a little while.
Yeah.
Went back to sleep again. Slept like a full 8 hours, but was still tired, and then slept a full 8 hours the following night. And then Saturday, this is what I did Saturday. I played Lego Star Wars, and that's it. And I haven't done that in a long time where I've just like sat on the couch for hours and played a video game. But we talked about it last week, and that game is just so fun. They have the complete saga on Steam. So that's what I was playing,
That's cool.
and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I played of course, Renegade this weekend. I'm going to be reviewing tonight, and played that for a while on Saturday, and also went to the library to renew my library card. And they spent about
Ooh.
6 months redoing my local library here. Dude, they have an arcade in there now.
Really?
Yeah. Like they have this, like you see this a wall of comics, right? And then you walk in between the stacks, and then kind of inside the comic stacks is this little area where there's couches, and then there's like a wall of arcade machines. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And they do like Wednesday night video game night there now at the
Wow.
library. So I'm like, might have to move open micers to another night.
I feel like that would be frowned upon in a library because they want to promote reading
Yeah.
and not video games.
Well, they weren't
But
on,
that's cool.
so I imagine the video games are for the video game nights. So
Right.
I don't know. It was just really cool to see that in the library. I'm like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, I would not expect that. I need to renew my library card too because I think it expired like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about having a library card now is you can stream movies and stuff through different apps that use your library card. And I'm thinking about getting rid of some paid apps these days. So I'm going to check those out and see how those are.
Oh, Chuck says you have to read the text in the RPGs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I would classify that. So that's a good technicality.
Yeah, I played a little more Balatro this weekend. And of course, we talked a little bit about, I started watching Daredevil this weekend. We talked a little bit about that before the show. And yeah, that show goes hard, like right off the bat.
Yeah, it's off to a really good start. And like Spider-Man has always been my favorite superhero character, but Daredevil is a close second. I'm even a defender of the Ben Affleck movie, but the show is on a whole different level. It's really like the comics come to life. Charlie Cox is an amazing Matt Murdock. Vincent D'Onofrio puts like a different spin on the Kingpin. Whereas, like, at first you don't know if it's going to work, but it grows on you. And he's really, really good. And I wish they would use him more.
Yeah.
Because, like, the rumor is that the next Spider-Man movie is going to be another multiversal story. But I'm like, just give me a street-level movie with him
all I
teaming up
need.
with Daredevil to take on the Kingpin.
Even if it's not in the theater, even if it's just a Disney Plus exclusive, dude, those were always some of my favorite comics growing up. Is the Spider-Man Daredevil team up comics? Every time they were on the shelf, I bought them up. I still have all of them, and they could do the one where they took on this demon called Blackheart. In the middle, I think it was on where were they, like Coney Island or something like that. Dude, how awesome would that? They don't even need to be a full length movie. Just do like an hour long Halloween thing, like they did for what was the
Werewolf at Night?
Yeah, Werewolf at Midnight. Do something like that. That would be awesome.
They are doing that for The Punisher. They're doing like a 45-minute special,
I'm for it.
which would be really cool.
You know what they need
But
to
yeah,
do?
like,
They need to bring Thomas Jane in as maybe multiverse.
a variant.
Yeah, a variant. And have
Oh,
them
that
go
would
at
be
it.
awesome.
How awesome would that be?
Because I liked Thomas Jane's Punisher
I
movie.
did too. Did you ever see, everybody out there, if you've not seen it, go on YouTube and look up Dirty Laundry, The Punisher Dirty
Yes.
Laundry. It's a short film that they did, Thomas Jane and his buddies did over a weekend, and it's like 15 minutes long. It's a Punisher short film, and it's one of the best versions of the Punisher you will ever see in your life.
Oh, 100%. But I mean, they even did that with the Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s. They bring in Daredevil, the Punisher. I think the X-Men or the Fantastic Four might have been in there too. So I don't know. There's so much that they could do that I wish they would do, but that could be a whole separate podcast.
Yeah, maybe we should just break off and do the Marvel the Nerd Cave Retro Marvel cast.
Yeah, I would love to do like especially with Avengers Doomsday coming out next year, because my wife and we had like a 15-minute rant to each other about that, and I'm like, this is where I wish I still had my own show.
Yeah, I know.
But
And we
it's
got
all
a
right.
full chat room tonight going off. I love it.
Oh, shout out to Mushmouth.
Yeah, Mushmouth's in there. We got Chuck. We got Tyler. And Tyler said that when he lived in Gaucher, which is the town next to mine, says that library had Wii, PS3, and 360 games for Lind that you could rent from the library or check out. And they have that at my library too. They have PS5, Xbox One, all kind of Wii games. They have everything there. Like, I'm so happy to be part of the library system again.
Wow. I don't know if the library here in town does that. I'd have to go, which would mean we've got, I think we've got 3 or 4 different libraries. Like the biggest one is downtown.
Yeah.
But then there's one down the road from my house. There's one, I think, closer to the west side of town. And there may be one other one, but I can't remember.
Well,
There was one on college campus at PSC, which is like a block from me, but they closed that one down a while
That
back.
sucks. Go support your local libraries, everybody. That's our PSA for today.
Or as some people in the South would call it, library.
Library. The library.
The library.
The library. But we got some news to get to. You ready to get to it?
I reckon.
Here we go. Some of tonight's stories were provided to us by Armez Jackson and I Am the Rampage. And if you have a news story you'd like us to cover, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. And the first story is from notebookcheck.net. Renewed hopes for new Dino Crisis game after Capcom files trademark in Japan. Capcom followers are anxious to hear the roar of dinosaurs again. A trademark filing is keeping hopes alive for a Dino Crisis remake or new game. Unfortunately, the publisher seems more focused on the prehistoric beasts in Monster Hunter Wilds. The trademark filed on March 4th was just published. The document has caused speculation about whether Capcom is renewing the trademark or planning a new game. Considering GOG's good old game's successful efforts, there isn't as much urgency for a remake of Dino Crisis or Dino Crisis 2. You can purchase a PS4 or 5 port of Dino Crisis on the PlayStation Store. So what do you think? I mean, is all the remakes that Capcom is doing, I mean, it kind of makes sense that they would go for Dino Crisis as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, I think, a logical step. I don't think I've ever played Dino Crisis. I do remember it.
Yeah, I didn't either. I never played it, but I remember it. It was big at the time.
Yeah, so I think there's an audience for it.
Yeah.
You know, we've said this before with the remakes and the remasters. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's that nobody plays them or buys them, but I still think it's worth the risk to do.
I think if Capcom's going to be remaking stuff, please remake Onimusha Warlords. I love those games so much. Did you ever play those for the PS2?
I did not.
Those were some of my favorite games on the PS2. They were just like, they're hard to describe. If you ever played like Devil May Cry or things like that, it's sort of like that, but mixed with like a little Ninja Gaiden, a little mysticism, a little ghosts and demons, and I can't. It's so good. It's up there with Resident Evil to me. So I wish that they would remake those games.
Maybe one day they will.
Yeah, Mushmouth says after the new Monster Hunter, it's a good time to drop a new Dino games. Like, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it makes logical sense to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. From PlayStationLifestyle.net, gamer tries selling PS4 Pro to GameStop, ends up owing instead. I feel like you gave this to me by design.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the original story, and then I'll read the update. Mm-hmm. A simple PS4 Pro trade-in at GameStop took a bizarre turn for one player who was allegedly told they essentially owed money to the store instead. The gamer wasn't exchanging their old console for anything else and was merely hoping to make a few bucks. But GameStop reportedly came up with a negative figure for the transaction. A Reset Era user claimed they were hoping to earn about $70 for their PS4 Pro and accompanying power cable. The gamer wanted to hang on to their DualShock 4 as they still use it and kept the HDMI cable as well. According to GameStop's reported math, the lack of HDMI cable and the lack of DualShock 4 and its charging cable, coupled with the seller not being a Pro member, meant that the sale would result in a negative $5 balance on the customer's end, which means the customer would owe that amount to GameStop. Had this player tried to sell their PS4 Pro on eBay instead, they would have easily earned some money.
Dude, that takes that GameStop meme to a whole new level.
100%. I'd say to GameStop, tell me you're salty about them not being a Pro member without telling me you're salty about them not being a Pro member.
Dude, how do you end up owing the store $5? Like, how? Good Lord.
I don't know, but this actually was updated today. A GameStop representative reached out to PSLS to stress that this appears to be an isolated incident and that this customer's experience is not the norm. The statement confirms that a PS4 Pro console with just a power cable and no other accessories would trade in for $28.77 for Pro members and $19.23 for non-members.
I don't know what's more insulting, getting $19 for a PS4 or getting charged $5 for them to take it off your hands.
I mean, were they desperate for DualShock controllers? Is that why? This is why I don't shop at GameStop anymore, because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
You could trade in, like, oh, I'm going to give you this, like, mint condition modern console. Cool. Give us $20.
Yeah.
and then we'll take it off your hands.
I mean, they have a reputation for a reason. That's why their stock is in the tank. That's why, they're not going to survive another 5 years.
No, they're not, because I did go in GameStop the other day, and they were trying so hard to sell me on the Pro membership.
Yeah.
And I get that, like different stores, and they'll have their own credit card or their own kind of membership, and they ask you for it. But my thing is, if I say no, then you're like, okay, no problem. They just kept on and on and on about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is why I don't shop here anymore. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and Tyler said he said there might have been a new Onimusha getting announced in this past month, and I tried to look it up, but I can't find it. I know that they did do, I think, not a remaster, but they did put Onimusha Warlords is now digitally on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC, and that was last month. So I don't know if it's on the PS5 or not in the new Xbox Series X or S. I mean, you could look it up and see. I don't know. It would be nice if they did. I love those games. Let's see. This next story is from NintendoLife.com. Switch 2 GameCube controller rumors resurface following the new Nintendo filing. The GameCube generation ended years ago, but the controller for the system is still a popular choice for many Nintendo enthusiasts when it comes to select titles. Let's see. A new FCC filing by Nintendo for Game Controller has recently gone live. The model number prefix attaches BEE, matching up with the Switch 2. On one other bit of information suggests there will be a wireless Bluetooth controller, and attached are some basic images. And this is where the rumor part kicks in, with some detective work on FAMA boards suggesting one of the images showing a label location on the rear of the controller matches up with the back of the GameCube controller where the C-stick is located. The possibility of this filing being a Switch 2 Pro controller has apparently been ruled out, as it doesn't appear to support NFC functionality. The fact that it's also a wireless Bluetooth controller has led to speculation that this controller could have possible links to the Switch Online service, as Nintendo has already reworked other classic controllers into wireless models, like the original Nintendo controller and the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64. So it stands to reason that the new Switch, they're probably going to add the GameCube Online to the new Switch, the Switch 2, and they're going to have a new GameCube controller. That's what I think this is going to end up being.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about, a couple of stories ago. It's the most logical step.
Yeah.
They have wireless versions of the other controllers, and it mentions Smash Brothers because it's still the preferred way to play Smash Brothers with a lot of people. Like, there's a reason that the GameCube controller keeps being re-released. It's been re-released for every system since the GameCube when a new Smash Brothers comes out.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like the GameCube controller, but to me, it's almost perfection. Like, the only thing I would change is I want the C button or the C stick. I wish I could just make it the same stick as the left thumbstick. Just have two of the same sticks, because they just feel weird when there's one that feels normal, then you have the other one that's just like a little nub. Like I just wish they were both the same.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, but no, the GameCube controllers, it might be my favorite controller of all time
Me too.
because it fits so naturally in your hand. I loved the curved inward of the trigger buttons. It's almost like your fingers naturally fit into it.
Yeah.
It's perfect,
So
in my
comfortable.
opinion.
It's just
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfectly made, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to include this in the Switch 2 Direct. We're only a couple of weeks away from it now.
Maybe. I mean, they might announce the Switch 2, and then GameCube Online for Nintendo Switch Online. That's it's another. It's I don't think that's going to draw people to buy a Switch 2, but it's icing on the cake for people that are going to get it anyway, like me and you.
Yeah,
And Wally,
I could,
Wally's going to be there day one to pick up Wally and Joey are both going to be there day one to pick up a Nintendo
no,
Switch 2.
they're gonna push us out of line and take our spots.
The secret closet Nintendo fans, Wally Phelps and Joey Image.
I can't wait to hear what they're gonna say after this episode. From TimeExtension.com, Square Enix staff discovers cache of pristine retro games, some of which date back 30 years.
This is so cool.
It also is followed up by a picture of Timothy Dalton as James Bond, which is kind of cool. Members of Square Enix recently made a remarkable discovery upon opening an old storage container at work that had been shut for close to 20 years. A cache of pristine retro games that include titles released for the Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Atari ST, DOS computers, Engage. Nintendo Wii, and Amstrad CPC, among other platforms. Lee Singleton, the head of the studio at Square Enix External Studios, revealed the discovery on LinkedIn, sharing a quick 30-second clip of the remarkable stash that had been uncovered from an off-site storage facility from days of old. Looking at this video, it seems the majority of these games were either made or published back in the day by Domark Limited or its successor, Eidos Interactive, companies that were acquired by Square Enix in 2009. For instance, we can make out a bunch of old Domark games like Clax, Hard Drivin', Badlands, Stun Runner, and the licensed James Bond tie-in, The Living Daylights. There's also the Nintendo Wii version of Death Jr. Root of Evil. There's a PC version of Quantic Dreams, The Nomad Soul. And according to Singleton, employees have been invited to take whatever they want, but he also seems to be in conversation with the BGI/National Video Game Museum in Sheffield after it was suggested in the comments that the site may be interested in the materials as a donation. That's
really
what they
cool.
need to do with it.
And this is really cool. And Mushmouth also brings up a good point in the chat room. He said Square wasn't able to remaster Final Fantasy VIII because they lost a lot of the files and art. They're bad about that stuff, so anything they find is exciting. And that's the thing. How much more? And we've talked about this before. Like the guys that found that, what was the discs of some unfinished game like under a tree somewhere near these places. Like no telling what undiscovered treasure is just hiding like in these places that in storage places that these game companies just kind of still pay on but just forgot about.
Yeah, these are some of my favorite stories that we talk about. These like games that are found in almost like untouched condition, because it's like, how like certain companies or groups will bury time capsules and they'll open them in like 50 years. That's what this reminds me of.
That's exactly what this is. Imagine being the person to find this. Like you open this up and you're just like, what is all this? And it's like all this just forgotten stuff,
My hands would probably start shaking like I'd be scared to touch them.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, that's I love it when we have stories like this, when they find this old stuff like this. Like just no telling what's out there, just hiding, waiting to be discovered again.
Oh, 100%.
This is the last story. Last story is from NintendoLife.com. Atari is bringing back Missile Command, but with a brand new twist. Atari cannot stop reviving its classic arcade titles at the moment. This time around, the legendary developer and publishers teamed up with Canadian studios Mighty Yell and 13AM Games to bring back the 1980 shoot-'em-up Missile Command. Missile Command Delta is a brand new turn-based tactical take on the series, which blends strategic gameplay with mystery and puzzle solving. It's a far cry from what we're used to from Missile Command, but the developers are aiming to retain the tension and suspense of the arcade original. Now, I don't know about you, but I love Missile Command, and it's probably one of my favorite games for the Atari 2600 because it's one of the ones that still plays well, and it's not a, absolute piece of crap.
Yeah, and the trailer doesn't give away too much. It's really just kind of an announcement like, hey, this is coming soon, but it looks really cool, or the announcement looks really cool, and Missile Command, is kind of one of those, I don't want to say forgotten, but a lot of people don't talk about Missile Command unless it just kind of comes up in conversation. But this is cool. And I'm excited for this.
I always get excited when I'm watching Terminator 2 and John Connor's in the arcade at the mall and he's playing Missile Command. I wish I had a Missile Command machine in my house.
Oh, maybe one day.
One of these.
And
days.
I agree with Mushmouth. If the N64 Mother 3 demo was found, that would make me so happy.
But that
I remember reading about that story. Like that game was going to come out.
Oh yeah.
And it never materialized.
Who knows where that is? I mean, it could be in a lockbox somewhere. It could be in I don't know, Miyamoto's garage or something. Tell him what he has at his house.
See, I think there's a secret floor of Nintendo that's buried underground, and that's where they keep. That's where they keep all this stuff. That's where the guy who does the help hotline for Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's where they stay.
The one guy that's still there answering Super Nintendo maintenance calls. That poor guy.
I feel like I just want to call him, not because my Super Nintendo needs maintenance, but I feel like you just need somebody to talk to.
Hey, Super Nintendo hotline, how may I help you? I don't need anything. I just want to see how you're doing, brother.
Or you want me to order you a pizza or something?
Yeah, you want me to order you a hot dog or something? I don't know. DoorDash it to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of the news, and we're running a little bit late tonight. Do you want to skip the video game history and go straight to the review?
Wait, we still got to do our Patreon shout-outs, though.
Yeah, of course. Would you like to do that, Derek?
I suppose so, since I brought it up.
Yeah.
As always, we like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out our newest patron, Riley, Romaldo Marquez, the official fact checker and dungeon master of the Nerd Cave Retro podcast, Mr. Wally Phelps, Brian Piotrowski, Nick W., Eld the Zombie, Yup Fed, a.k.a. Knife, James, a.k.a. at Jimbo Jr. over on our Discord, Raven, Danny House, Justin Nispel, Daniel Salmon, Mr. B. Res Coffee himself, Mike Eveland, Tyler Watson, Axeblade07, the official beat writer of Nerd Cave Retro, Mr. Armez Jackson, Carlos Longoria, a.k.a. I am the Rampage! Staff Sergeant Sketch, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Miss Grace Potato, and of course,
Mama Diamond. Poor Joey.
Joey is going to have more nicknames than Apollo Creed by the summertime.
Just to give people some context, so about a month or so ago, our good friend Joey Image, who does the commentary tracks and stuff here with us, we have a group chat, and then about a month ago, he sends us this picture, and anybody that has an Apple phone knows that when somebody leaves a message, it transcribes it so you can see what it says before you hit the play button. It's not very good at it, let's just say.
No.
It's not good at it in the least. So somebody called him about a month or so ago and asked for a Mr. Joey Potato. we thought that was just the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then the other day, he gets one that is asking for Miss Grace. And I said, is a Miss Grace potato there? So now Joey Image is known as Miss Grace Potato.
He's going to have so many aliases. It's great. Future women's world champion,
Yeah.
Miss Grace Potato.
Oh, I love it.
Great stuff. But yeah, if you want to be a part of our Patreon community for as little as $1 a month, you get your own RSS feed with 0 ads.
None.
If you want to hear us just talk uninterrupted, all it costs you is $1 a month. And this is the perfect time to join our Patreon because this Friday
Yes.
we will begin the Nerd Cave Retro Quest Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
And Wally kind of scared me a little bit because he sent us a text the other day that said, just be warned, you can die. So be careful. And I'm like, it would be Wally's MO to kill me in the first 10 minutes of the campaign. So I get to do nothing for the next 6 hours.
That's why you got to be extra nice to him.
Yeah.
This week.
I just have to watch my back. You watch my back, I'll watch your back.
I think that sounds great. But yeah, we're going to be recording that this Friday. It'll be a multi-part campaign, because we don't want to subject people to a 6 or 8 hour podcast with us.
We're going to split it up over the next couple of months. So the next couple of months of extra episodes are going to be the Nerd Cave Retro Quest. And here's the thing. If it does well and everybody likes it, we're talking about we might make it an actual offshoot regular show. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, Chuck says always rush into rooms.
Yeah, sure.
Know why I thought about naming my character Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. I should capture that for the actual campaign. Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy, you're an idiot. But yeah, if you want to be a part of our awesome Patreon community, we've done numerous commentary tracks for animated shows like Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, Tailspin, full-length movies. The list is near endless on what we've done, and we'll do more commentary tracks in the future as well. But if you want to be a part of it, head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. And for new patrons, be sure to send us your social media information so we can give you a proper shout-out.
And tonight, I'm going to be talking about... Renegade, or otherwise known as Neketsu Koha Kunio-kun, which is Japanese, loosely translated to hot-blooded tough guy Kunio. Sounds like another
Like the Foreigner song? Hot-blooded?
Yeah, sounds like another Joey Image nickname. Hot-blooded tough guy Kunio. It was released as a beat-em-up video game developed by Technos Japan and distributed by Taito for the arcades in 1986. The original game revolves around a high school delinquent named Kunio-kun who must stand up against a series of rival gangs, frequently targeting his classmate Hiroshi. In the Western version, the player controls a street brawler who must face 4 different gangs in order to rescue his girlfriend from being held captive by a mob boss. Why was all these games like dude going after his girlfriend who's been kidnapped by a mob boss? Isn't that the same storyline as Double Dragon?
Yeah, it sounds like a little rinse and repeat
Yeah.
kind of situation. Like, why not keep the high school delinquent? Like, for one, delinquent's a fun word to say.
Yeah.
And two, it's a little bit different than your typical, hey, my girlfriend was captured, so I've got to fight this gang to get her back.
Yeah. Tyler said River City Rampage is another game in the Kunio-kun series. I remember something about that, but all these games are loosely related to one another because I know it does say that Kishimoto, what was his name? Yoshihisa Kishimoto, who created the game, also created Double Dragon a year later. But it said that this game, as everybody knows, and this says it in the article here, but this is known that this was an important game that defined the beat 'em up genre, because it established the format that pretty much all beat 'em ups were going to be from this point on. So you can kind of see that, the primordial ooze of Double Dragon and Final Fight and all those kind of games are in this game. Me personally, I don't have much nostalgia for this game. I never really played it. I did play the sequel, because here's the thing. I was asking everybody, even put it up on Patreon, I needed some ideas for games to play. So Tyler gave me some ideas. I think Nick Windling gave me some ideas. I got them all written in the doc here. But Joey came back to me and asked me if I'd ever played Renegade. And he was like, you know what? I haven't. So that's what I'm going to review for this week. And but yeah, I never really had any nostalgia for this game. And like I said, I have played the sequel and I didn't like it. I got it in the clearance bin at Kmart, I think when I was 12 or 13 years old. And it was a hot pile of garbage. And I think I wasted 15 hard-earned birthday dollars on that game at the time. And it was no good. I didn't like it. So went back to play this one over the weekend. And here are some of my notes for it. It says, my first note is, good Lord Almighty, this game starts off hard. There are a ton of enemies, and they take insane amounts of damage to die, and they never seem to end. And what I couldn't get was, I was expecting the controls of this game. Now, of course, I don't have the original cart for this game. I had to, burn a highly legal ROM from a non-existent cart itself to play the game. I didn't have a manual for it, so I was just expecting Double Dragon style controls. It's not that at all. It has its own control scheme, which I had to look up online to learn how to play this game. Now, here's my first beef with the game. So I looked up the game manual to learn the controls, and these are the kind of controls drive me crazy. Now, if you're facing left on the screen, you have to use the B button to punch, and the A button does a back kick because people like to come up behind you and sandwich you in and beat the crap out of you. But if you're facing to the right, then you need to hit the A button to punch and the B button to kick behind you. But here's the thing. You can't control whether you're facing left or right. You automatically turn when there's somebody in front of you or near you. You turn to that person to start punching and kicking. So I did not.
I hate that.
I hated this control scheme.
That's
with
so
a
stupid.
Passion. I hated
That's
it.
so.
I hated
that makes
it.
zero logical sense.
No, maybe it works on an actual arcade machine, because I did really want to play the arcade version of this game. I weighed my options. I was like, I could get the Arcade Archives version of this game, which is the original arcade version on the Switch. But I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to spend $8 on something that I don't know if I'm going to like it and play it. That's just kind of $8 down the toilet if I'm just going to play something for 10 minutes and be like, I don't like this. So I tried to play it on, what is that game? I do this every week. I talk about that site that we use.
Playclassic.games?
Playclassic.games. It is on there, but it doesn't have controller support. So I had to play with keyboard, but I couldn't figure out any of the controls for it. So I couldn't play it there. And so I just kind of gave up on that. And I was like, I'm just going to stick with the NES version. Whew, man, it took a long, long time to kind of get used. I never fully got used to the controls, but I started to tolerate it after a while.
See, the thing with that is, if the controlling system is that complicated, you've pretty much lost me already.
And it was probably easier. Of course, a lot of this stuff back then was a lot easier because it was all we knew.
Right.
We didn't have established ways of playing these games like we do now. Like if you go into a beat 'em up game like this now, there's a certain way that these games play that they all kind of play the same. But when you play something like this, where like you're expecting to with a controller so easy as the original NES controller. You have 4 directions, A and B button, start and select. There's not much there to mess up. And when you mess it up, it's just kind of like you had 5 buttons to use on the control. How did you mess up 5 buttons?
Yeah, but it's one of those things that I'm sure if you grew up with this game
Yeah.
and knew the control scheme, it would be different.
Yeah.
But going in with no previous knowledge of it, it's going to be a chore.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. It felt like a chore trying to learn these controls. And after like 10 minutes, dude, you know that muscle along your thumb right here that is in between that fatty part of your hand between your thumb and your wrist? It was literally locking up on me trying to hit the A and B buttons because this game is nonstop. Like you're playing and just enemies are just, it's like playing horde mode. Like they just, as soon as you manage to beat all the enemies on the screen, here comes another wave of enemies at like 5 or 6 at it. And you're trying to fight like 5 or 6 dudes at a time. And each one of them take like 20 freaking hits to die. And I imagine this game would probably be a lot more fun if I had a second player to help take care of some of these, bad guy assholes that kept knocking me all over the place. But with one person, it just wasn't very fun. I mean, it looked nice. The music was okay. The graphics are they're simple. They're like very early Nintendo. There's nothing real.
It looks flat.
Yeah, exactly. Look, there's no like shading to anything. It's all flat colors and pixel characters, and it's serviceable.
That's what I was thinking too. Whenever I watched some gameplay of it, is that like it's not an awful looking game, but it does look like early NES where there's just a few different colors.
Yeah.
There's no, like you said, there's no shading. There's not a lot of depth. Everything's just kind of flat.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a bad look. It's just there's nothing jumps out at. It's just it's like they just sort of like here's the game. Make it as fast as you can, and this is what you get. Like it's not terrible, but it's not great. Like you go play something like something later in the NES library, like I don't know. I mean, even just Super Mario Brothers 3. Like you look at Super Mario Brothers 3, which is like 3 years after this, it's light. The graphics and gameplay are light years ahead of where this game was in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to hate it. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on the game. I wrote here, finally made it to the first boss and got my ass roundly kicked the first time I got to him. And I wrote, at least they did get this part right in the game, and I applaud them for this thing that they did. Whenever you go from screen to screen, and the game is not side-scrolling, it's just basically a static screen that kind of rolls a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. But you beat everybody in that screen, then a door opens up, and you go in the door. Then there's your next screen, and it goes a little bit to the right. It's not a side scroller. It's just sort of like you fight a one-room fight, and then you go to the next room. But when you go to in between rooms, they do fill your health bar, which you need it because by the time you get the door open, you have no bars left. Like I went through each door with no life left.
Well, at least they threw you a little bit of a bone there with the refilling the health bars.
So I was like, well, at least thank you for that, guys. And there's no cheats for this game. Like I looked up cheat codes. There's none. I mean, you can level select, but there's no kind of like infinite lives or anything like that. You get 2 lives and that's it. Game over.
It's always interesting to go back and play games like this, especially ones that neither of us played or one of us never played.
Yeah.
Just to see the how do I say this? The limitations.
Yeah.
So say like you only get 2 lives or you get, unlimited lives, but there's no like way to heal yourself.
Yeah.
Or the infamous password system as opposed to a save state.
There's like 5 levels to this game, but you only get 2 lives. So like I don't know how people beat this game. Like, I just don't understand. I've seen people beat this game before, like Arcus, I watch on Twitch sometimes. He can beat this game. There's other people that, do world record runs on this game. I don't see how they do it. This game is just insane.
Yeah, I like part of me does want to actually give this a shot. Like it looks interesting enough. I don't see myself really being a big fan of it,
Yeah.
but like it doesn't look unplayable.
Yeah, that's the thing. It isn't unplayable. It's just kind of aggravating with the way the controls work. Like I said, you get used to it after a while. But honestly, I would really like to just try the actual arcade version, which Arcade Archives has a version of this available on the Switch and probably, PS5 or whatever you have, the Xbox. So, I mean, go give it a shot. At least give the the arcade version a shot, because I think maybe playing with a joystick or at least a thumbstick might be a little better. I don't know.
Yeah, because some of those games they don't translate as well to the console.
Yeah.
So maybe this is one of those situations where it's just the arcade version is decent and it just didn't work as well on the NES.
I mean, I know this game got people love this game. I knew a lot of kids at the time that had this game, but I just never, I don't know, I just never got it or never played it. I did write one thing in my notes here. It says, just punch me in the face with my controller, please.
One interesting thing here is it says that Kunio partly based the game on himself and drew inspiration from the Bruce Lee martial arts film Enter the Dragon.
I can see
which
that.
inspired the game's knockdown, drag-out fights, along with his own altercations as a youth. But in order to make the game more appealing for the West, Technos produced a graphically altered version with a visual style inspired by the 1979 film The Warriors, changing the look of some of the game's characters and scenery.
Dude, I love The Warriors. Do you ever seen The Warriors?
Come out to play.
I love that movie so much.
I haven't seen it in forever, but yeah, it's a classic.
This I'm looking at the controls here. I'm just trying to see. Three. Yeah, I'm trying to look at how many screens there were per in the actual game. I know I read it somewhere, but I can't. I think it's like 4 or 5 different levels to go through in the game. So it's not really that long of a game. It's just incredibly hard. I guess the only way they can make this game last is to just make it insanely hard.
And it says here home computer versions of the game were also released for the Amiga, Apple II, and IBM PC in North America. And then it was ported to the Master System, developed by Natsumi and published by Sega in 1993, and it's based largely on the NES port rather than the original arcade game, but with enhanced graphics and several improvements like new death cutscenes and a revamped ending, but was not released in the States.
Huh. I would like to see what the Commodore 64 and the Amiga version of this game looked like, because I'm kind of impressed with some of the games that I've seen for the Amiga, and I still want to watch that documentary. I still haven't seen it yet, that Amiga documentary. We got to watch that.
Yeah, we do. It also says here an arcade version of the game was ported to the PS4 in 2015 as part of the Arcade Archive series.
Yeah, so you can get that.
I may have to check that out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They have the Arcade Archives version for on the Nintendo Switch, so I imagine, I don't know if they have it for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, but I think they're available. It says here for the PlayStation 4. I'm not sure if it's available on the Xbox at all, but it doesn't say.
Yeah, this would be the version that I would check out, because it can't be that expensive on the PS4.
I think it was like $8 when I looked it up on the Nintendo Switch. Let's see.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I said, okay, I've been playing for 20 minutes and my thumb muscle is screaming at me. The graphics are pretty basic, pretty standard for early NES. That's what we talked about. The music is serviceable. It's that old school 50s rock and roll, just da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. It's just pretty much just that over and over again. Not a whole lot of variety there. Yeah, and I even wrote here, and I wanted to say this when I brought up Double Dragon, but I was expecting Double Dragon style controls, and I probably would have liked this a lot better if it did have Double Dragon style controls. It's just that the weird controls just made it so weird and frustrating because I wanted it to play like Double Dragon, but it wouldn't, and it doesn't.
They should have gotten the rights to use the Styx song, Renegade.
Yeah. You sent me that the other day. I was
well,
like,
no,
man.
as soon as you told me that this was what you were going to review, that song instantly popped in my head.
I wonder if they tried to get the rights to use that song for the soundtrack of the game.
Then Styx was like,
no.
Nah. Just simply no.
Yeah, and I wrote, it's an okay beat 'em up, and I definitely would like to have it in the collection. Just for completionist purposes, I probably would never pop it into the Nintendo, but it would be nice to have because I really do like the box art a lot. And I tried to
the box art's cool.
I tried to look up who did the box art, and there's nothing online that I could find about who did the box art for this game because I'm talking about the actual NES box art. I know there's like 20 different arts for this game, whether it's from the arcade to the Commodore 64 and everything. There's a bunch of different artwork, but the one specifically for the NES version is the one that I'm in love with, and I wish I knew who did it so I could give them props.
Yeah, the arcade flyer, you can see the Warriors inspiration because it looks very similar to even like the graffiti style font.
Yeah,
at the top of it.
Nick in the chat room said I should have reviewed Contra Hardcore. It's in the doc, sir. It's coming. It's coming soon. Which that's going to be a nightmare for me because I know how hard that game is. So I got to save that for when I need to punish myself. But yeah.
So what would you give this game?
Out of a 10. I don't want to be too mean to this game because I know it is an important game in the beat 'em up genre, but I mean I just give it a 5. Like, it's not bad, it's not great, it's just sort of it's there. It's just it's
average.
Yeah, it's average. And you might play it and like it better than me because you might like the controls that way. But me personally, coming from where with the beat 'em up games that I like Final Fight, Streets of Rage, even like the Turtles games, Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, that style of arcade game. That's what I was expecting with the controls, but it is not that. It's almost feels like I'm trying to play the game backwards.
That's just so weird.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. And I think when he changed the control scheme for Double Dragon is when we were like, okay, this is what it's going to be from now on.
This is what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Nick asked if it's better than Bad Dudes.
Honestly, I love Bad Dudes. I don't have much bad to say about Bad Dudes. I like Bad Dudes. Somebody got to save the president and then go have a cheeseburger afterwards.
Yeah, all in a day's work.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got to say about Renegade. Go try it if you like beat 'em ups and you've never played it before. But I would say maybe try the Arcade Archives version of it before the NES version.
I think that would be. Granted, I've never played the game, but just based off what you've said, I think that'd be the route to go.
Yeah. But before we get out of here, we have a couple of things to get through. Derek, what are you going to be reviewing next week?
So I think for next week, I'm finally going to pull the trigger and review Nights into Dreams for the Sega Saturn. It's a game that I've known about since it was released because there were advertisements in all the Sonic comic books that I read growing up. I've always been curious about it, but I never had a Saturn. Yeah. So finally going to review that next week.
It looks interesting. I love the artwork for the game.
It does. And after that, so next week is the 24th, and then we have the 31st. We want to do a top 5?
Absolutely. Let's do it. What you want to do?
We haven't done a top 5 this month, so I think I think we're due.
Yeah, we'll talk about it offline, and we'll
Yeah.
say next week what our top 5 is going to be.
Yeah.
And we also have another listener review by Mr. Nick Windling over on our Discord. So if you're not a member of our Discord, we got a couple new members over the last week or so. So go in there. Just go to nerdcaveretro.com, click on that Discord button, and it'll take you right where you need to go. And he says, on our listener review site, he says, I'm going to review the classic 1983 comedy National Lampoon's Vacation. It stars Chevy Chase as Clark Griswold. Clark Griswold decides to take his family on a road trip to Wally World. So they travel from Chicago to Southern California. Along the way there, the family experiences several mishaps. When they are in St. Louis, they get lost and end up in the rough part of the city. Roll them up! Where they get their hubcaps stolen. And after that, they go to Dodge City, Kansas, where Clark gets shot at by a bartender. This is making me laugh just reading it because I love this movie so much. They then go to Coolidge, Kansas, where they meet up with Cousin Eddie. And after visiting Cousin Eddie and his wife Catherine, Eddie and Catherine tell them to ask the Gribwalls to drop off Aunt Edna to Phoenix along with her dog. Edna is cranky, and the dog is very mean. And Clark accidentally ties the dog to the back of the car, and we don't want to say what happens after that. More mishaps happen along the way, and Edna dies. They drop her body at Norman's house, who wasn't home. And the kids, Rusty and Audrey, want to go home, but then they end up at Wally World, but it's closed. Sorry, sign out front should have told you. Clark's hold up the security guard hostage with a BB gun, and the security guard is played by John Candy. It is a very hilarious movie, and I consider it to be one of the best comedies ever made. I'd give it 5 out of 5 stars. Agreed. I love National Lampoon's Vacation. Probably one of the greatest 80s comedies ever made.
Agreed. I miss John Candy.
I do too. Imagine what he could have done if he'd still be alive.
I know. His career was great though, as short as it was. You think of, I always think of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with him, but a close second is his role as Mog in Spaceballs.
And Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck, yeah, that's a classic.
So many good. Like, imagine if he and Chris Farley were still alive. And they played like a father-son duo, like in a movie. How awesome that would have been!
Oh man,
so many missed opportunities.
Whatever studio would have done that could just print money.
Oh, dude, imagine! I don't even want to say it anymore. Like, if we got a movie with those two, and then you have the sidekicks are Steve Martin and oh crap, what's his name from Tommy Boy?
David Spade?
David Spade. Imagine those 4 in a movie together.
I wouldn't want to be the director.
The screen would melt with the 4 of those guys on the screen.
Could you imagine trying to keep those 4 in check?
They would have so much footage. There would be like an 8-hour cut of the movie.
Oh, 100%.
And also, too, I wanted to see, Derek, can you, I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear this, but everybody else will. I just have a sample here. And this is from, if I can bring it up, this is also from Mr. Nick, who just did our listener review. I just want to let everybody see how this sounds on voicecast.app/NCR. See how good this sounds, everybody.
Hi guys, this is Nick. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Looking forward to the next episode.
So that is on our voicecast.app/NCR. You can leave us a voice message and we'll play it right here on the show. Did you hear it, Derek?
I did, yeah. That sounded great.
Sounds great. So that's all you got to do. You go to voicecast.app/NCR, and you don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is just leave your message, and we'll get it. And that's it. Nothing tracks you. You don't not ask for money. This is an app that was designed by a member of the Frog Pants community, and he made it specifically for podcasters so that they could get good voice messages. That's his whole point. And if we start using it and it gets, a lot of people calling the show, we can do it where we can get text messages as well, but I have to upgrade, and that is like $5.99 a month or something like that, which ain't bad. I don't mind paying that if people start using it. So if you guys want to leave us messages, that's all you have to do is voicecast.app/NCR.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love voice messages. There's been a couple of podcasts I've listened to where people will leave voicemails or they might leave questions for the host to answer. So
Yeah.
the fact that we can do that is really cool.
But yeah, I'm excited about it. So I think, did I put a button? Let me check our website real quick.
A button?
Our button, and I'll see if I put a button up there. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I have a button on nerdcaveretro.com. It's the second button down that says leave us a voice message. That button right there will take you right to the voicecast.app site to leave us a voice message. And thank you to Nick for testing that for me.
Being our guinea pig.
Yeah, but that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. Derek, please tell everybody what's going on in your life.
Yeah, if you want to follow my wife and I's new food venture, you can go to Facebook and Instagram. The name is, and I love this name, Married to Munchies.
You guys sound
a little bit of
high.
a double entendre there, but no, it's been a lot of fun, to kind of plan things, and because cooking is like therapy to me. So you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I think we're going to do another pop-up in early April, so you can follow that. And if you're in the Pensacola area, we might just be in your neck of the woods or somewhere close by you.
I need to come over there and get some of you guys' food because I haven't had it yet. I need it.
So I'll say this as far as how good my wife's cooking is. When we started dating, I weighed 150 pounds. Fast forward almost 5 years, I no longer weigh 150 pounds. Add about 35 to that.
Woo! You catching up with me?
I've that's why I've quit drinking soda and have tried to eat better, because it's like I went to the doctor and they're like, it's starting to affect your blood pressure. So
yeah,
I'm like, okay, then that's all the wake up call I need.
Welcome to 40, Derek. Welcome to 40.
Almost there.
I'm staring down 50. I'm 47. I'll be 48 this year, and I made a joke on Threads earlier because I bought some. I usually take the Centrum Silver, the Centrum multivitamins, but I accidentally bought the Centrum Silver, and it says 50 plus, and I said, I'm only 47. Am I going to go to jail?
Oh man. If we turned 40 and 50 in the same year, we'd have to do a joint birthday, but actually do it as a funeral.
Yeah, we could. I'm for it. But yeah, and for the Open Micers podcast, we didn't have a show last week because Jacob had to fix his brakes, so we didn't get to do the show. We rescheduled our guest, so we will have an episode coming up this week. So go check it out. The Open Micers podcast, openmicers.com, at Open Micers podcast on Instagram and Threads. And also don't forget to follow Nerd Cave Retro now on not only Threads but also Blue Sky. So it's like nerdcaveretro.bluesky.app or whatever those weird Blue Sky.
They got to shorten the usernames.
Yeah, they got to figure that stuff out. But just go look up Nerd Cave Retro on Blue Sky. You'll find us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anything else before we get out of here tonight?
I reckon that's it.
All right, well, let's walk out. Oh, and before we go, I want to apologize for last week, everybody. At the end of the episode, I didn't let Derek do his final thing, and we just kind of had an abrupt end to the show because I'm an old man, and I forgot to go to the bathroom before the show, and I almost blew up here in the middle of the show. So
it happens.
That's why the show ended abruptly last week. So from now on, I'll remember to know, do my business before trying to podcast after having 4 cups of coffee in a row.
Yeah, 4 cups of coffee will do it.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and tell everybody where they can email us. You can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We're at nerdcaveretro.com, and that's our link tree. That takes you everywhere you need to go. All the socials, the ways to leave us voice messages. You can go to the Patreon from there. And, of course, the merch shop, which is at ncrmerch.com. We've got all kind of designs of. We've been selling a lot of Master Blaster runs Bartertown. t-shirts. We've been selling like crazy lately, so go check that out, ncrmerch.com. We got t-shirts, hats, magnets, bags, mugs, whatever your nerdy heart desires. And if you can't do that, can't be a patron for $1 a month, you can't give us money, I get it. Times are tough, eggs are high. Leave us a review and or a 5-star rating on all podcasting platforms, because it's free. It don't cost you anything. And on that note, Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
Wow.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown.
And that is an episode.
Thank you, Tina Turner.
Yeah. Thank you all for hanging out in the chat room, Nick and Chuck and
Yeah.
Tyler and all you guys. I was waiting for Rampage to show up, but he didn't get here tonight, so I don't know what he's doing.
Probably thinking of the next video game we bring up to bash.
Or he's eating his a fifth dinner or something. Freaking Hobbit.
I worry about him sometimes.
We-
Like, I know my diet's not great, but some of the stuff he sends us, I'm like, how do you handle it?
I don't know. And here's the thing. We all love Rampage. You know, go listen
Yeah,
to the
Rampage is great.
The
Ready to Believe You.
Ready to Believe You podcast with him and Mr. Wally Phelps. We're in we have our own little producers chat over at Open Micers podcast, and Rampage starts out at like 5 a.m. with like the most full Hobbit breakfast you've ever seen. And then in like 30 minutes later, he's like, I'm still hungry. I'm going to go to like Crystal Burgers or something. And like, dude, he just eats all day. I'm like, where does it go? Because he's like 5 foot tall and like 75 pounds soaking wet. Like, where does it all go?
How old is Rampage
85? I don't know.
in Hobbit years?
I guess 30s, late 30s. I'm not sure.
I'll have to ask him.
He's kind of ageless, that Rampage.
Yeah. I thought I would be, but my mortality's catching up to me.
Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you. Thank you too, Tyler. You have a good night, and we will see all of you right here. Oh, let me bring up our outro thing. Like and subscribe to the show, everybody. We'll see you all next week.